Two neighbors, same age, 60, same salary, almost the same amount saved. 5 years later, one of them retires and never thinks about money again. The other runs out of savings and is back at work at 71. Same money, opposite endings. And it wasn't luck. It wasn't the stock market either. It came down to a handful of quiet decisions each of them made in the 5 years right before they stopped working. Financial planners call this window the retirement red zone. The 5 years before you retire and the 5 after. This is the stretch where every decision gets magnified. So let me ask you 3 questions. Sit with them for a second. 1. If your boss walked in tomorrow and offered you an early retirement buyout with 2 weeks to decide, what would you do? 2. If you got laid off next month and nobody would hire you back at your old salary, what's the plan? 3. Would you ever consider phasing out, going part-time, instead of going from full speed to 0 overnight? Here's the sobering part. Only about a third of people actually retire on their own terms. The rest get pushed by a layoff, a buyout, or a health scare. If any of those questions gave you a jolt, that's your sign. That's exactly why we plan today, not the week the paperwork lands on your desk. So today, I'm going to walk you through this red zone, year by year, 5 years out, all the way to your first year retired, so you know exactly what to do and when. This is the year retirement stops being a someday idea and becomes an actual project. 4 things matter here. First, pick a real date. Not sometime around 62. Say it out loud. I retire June 2031. Every downstream decision hangs on that date. A 3-year swing can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. Second, build a real budget. Most people chase a big, round portfolio number before they know what their life actually costs. Break it into 3 buckets: core needs, lifestyle wants, and irregular hits like a new roof or a medical bill. Healthcare, by the way, is usually the cost that climbs, not drops. Third, check your savings runway. Are you actually on pace? Some of you will find you're ahead and can ease off. Others will need to accelerate. And at 5 years out, you still have time. Fourth, align your investment risk. There's a difference between risk tolerance, what you can stomach emotionally, and risk capacity, what your plan can actually survive. Capacity wins. This is the year you stop chasing the highest return and start chasing the highest odds of success. Now, you've picked your date, built your budget, know your risk. But here's the real question. How do you turn that pile of savings into an actual paycheck and keep the most of it after taxes? That's what year 4 is about. This is the year the game flips from grow the pile to build the income machine. Then, look at where your money actually sits, tax-wise. Traditional, Roth, taxable brokerage. 2 people can both have $2 million and have completely different retirements because pre-tax money is really worth less than its number. Uncle Sam is a silent partner in that account. This is also prime time for Roth conversions, especially in the income valley that often shows up after you retire, but before Social Security and required minimum distributions kick in. All right, income is mapped, taxes are smarter. But what about the single risk that can sink a retirement in its very first year? That's year 3. 2 things dominate this year: Social Security, done right, and defending against something called sequence of returns risk. On Social Security, don't just ask, when do I claim? Ask what protects your household longest. Often, it pays for the higher earner to delay, since the benefit grows roughly 8% a year up to 70. And that bigger number becomes the survivor's benefit for life. Also, don't plan around average life expectancy. Once you hit 65, you're likely living well into your 80s, maybe your 90s. Now, sequence risk. This is the one that keeps planners up at night. It's not about your average return over 30 years. It's about what happens in the first few years you're withdrawing. A bad market right at the start can lock in losses your portfolio never recovers from. The fix? A cash buffer. But not a buffer for your whole spending, just the gap Social Security doesn't cover. If your gap is $1,500 a month, 3 years of buffer is $54,000, not $180,000. Keep it in a high-yield account, and when markets fall, spend from there instead of selling stocks at a loss. Buffers built, Social Security's optimized. So how do you actually turn all this into a real monthly paycheck? 2 years out. Draft your first 24 months of cash flow, month by month, spending, guaranteed income, and the gap. 2 years, not one, because that catches the seasonal surprises a single month would hide. Decide exactly which account funds which dollar, taxable, traditional, or Roth, not just I'll pull from investments. Think of your income in layers: Social Security and pension at the floor, part-time work above that, portfolio withdrawals next, and your own flexibility to trim spending sitting at the top as your safety net. Consolidate old 401ks where it makes sense. Fewer accounts, fewer headaches. And set up your tax withholding now, because nobody's taking taxes out of your paycheck automatically anymore. This year is about one word: confidence. Do a dry run. Live on your projected retirement budget now while you still have your paycheck as a safety net. If it feels tight, you find out with time to fix it. That's a gift. Lock in your automatic transfers, finalize your Social Security decision with a backup plan, handle your Medicare timing carefully, missed windows mean lifelong penalties, and finish the paperwork. But here's the part that has nothing to do with money, and it might matter more than everything else I've said. I've watched people retire with more than enough and feel completely lost within months. And I've watched people retire on a tighter budget and love every single day. The difference was never the money. It was whether they retired to something or just away from something. So ask yourself, what will I finally get to start doing that I can't do now? Not what you'll stop, what you'll start. The people who thrive already have that answer before they walk out the door. 30, 40 years of saving got you here. Don't let the last 5 be the ones you improvise. Start with your real number. Everything else flows from that. This is for education, not personal financial advice. Talk to a professional before any big moves. But knowing your number costs you nothing, and it changes everything. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and send it to someone standing in this exact window. Retirement doesn't come together all at once. It's one smart decision at a time. See you in the next one.